It turned out that in above, the people of the Tan sect did this. That guy immediately realized the situation below but also pulled out his spear. From below the ground was the small body of the assassin was lifted high into the air. His smile became quite satisfied and it was unclear why they knew the male leads group was hiding here. It didn't take long. This person immediately shouted loudly that there were assassins lurking below. That small body was immediately thrown to the ground. Unexpectedly, there were assassins who dared to come close to this Tan mountain. That's bold. What he just said is eugenics. Coming from a secular family that has followed Tan's side for a long time. After a period of training, he also rose to power. These are the guys who came to attack the Tan sect. Everyone, please find and kill them all for me. From underground, fortunately the male protagonist has not been discovered yet and he is looking very worried. The children are not. If anyone could have made the right decision, Pyo Wol would have started to order everyone to avoid it first. Right now when they received that statement, the children woke up and tried to spread out in all directions. It's not clear how many disciples of the Tan sect there are above. However, they are looking very hard to find each one. Then underground sounds of digging began to be heard. Digging very urgently. All the living assassins flew to each corner to disperse the enemy's forces. They were quite surprised and no one had time to regain their composure. Up there, Pyo Wol continued to order everyone to spread out first, then gather again if it's okay. No one said anything, everyone went their separate ways and ran at full speed, not daring to look back. Below, the Tan sect's disciples stood still and looked back because the light attack of this group of assassins was so powerful. Then it was only thanks to Eugenok's scream that the group began to understand what they should do. Not good at flying or jumping, but they had the upper hand in numbers, so those guys split up everywhere to search. After giving the order, the leader tightly grasped the spear in his hand and took a long breath. It turned out that he planned to take care of a few people flying far in the sky. After a very strong kick, Eugenik threw him straight up. The speed was so terrible that it passed through a person of the blood spirit group, but he couldn't feel the pain in time. After hitting one, Eugenik continued to grab a few more spears. Just like that, he gained momentum and rushed upward a few more times. The aiming was so precise that Pyo Wol's teammates gradually disappeared without missing a single shot. It's not clear what the distance was, but the person who could do this must have strong internal strength. Of course, we also have to rely on our eyes to see things and the speed of the wind. Because up there, all noble paths will be changed and affected by the resistance of the wind. It's unclear if we can see how will the leader of the blood spirit group feel in this situation. It took 7 years to train, but to be defeated by a nonsense disciple of Tan, it's such a shame. What a shame. People fell like figs and Eugenik counted in his head that there was only one more left to finish the job. This time he took the momentum far because the distance was widening compared to the dead guys. Javelin flew quickly through the other disciples of the Tan sect. The sharpness was very high and it headed straight into the flight path of Pyo Wol, who was quickly hiding. With his senses, he understood what was happening. There is danger nearby. At that time, I could only see it, but everything seemed to be a beat slow. Pyo Wol regained his composure and tried to turn around and handle it. That troublesome thing. He turned around and kicked the spear down below his feet. The javelin lost all its force and unconsciously fell to the ground. Pyo Wol continued to land and chased after that sharp weapon. During the spin of the javelin, he put all his strength into responding. Returned. Seeing the movement, one leg was thrown back very strongly and then rushed straight towards Eugenik. This flying force was not only the javelin but also included internal force. In just a moment, the flying spear also passed through the Tan sect disciples standing in front. It was not aimed at them but only towards Eugenik. According to Eugenok's senses, the others just thought something was passing by without realizing it, so they turned around. This was a deadly act that even if they died they wouldn't have time to regret it. Pyo Wol no longer ran away. Trying to catch each of them individually to make it easier to handle, one by one all 4 of the leading guys died unexpectedly without even realizing it. The male protagonist's shadow passed by as if it were a demon. As for the spear at that moment, it was still flying with more force than Eugenik threw. He knew there was something dangerous but still didn't know. Are there any moves at this time? On the flight path, sizzling sounds rang out as if touching them would cause a fire because of the high friction. Luckily, that guy was Pyo Wol. The aim was not very accurate, otherwise it would have been good. Everything passed by and one of Yu Jinok's cheeks had now shed a few drops of bright red blood. His face began to turn upside down and no, he didn't show any signs of fear at all. Then this guy shouted again, asking his disciples not to worry but to focus on finding and killing those fleeing assassins. Confronting all of them it's too much for me. I have to run away from here first. After dealing with a few more guys, the male lead also hid in the bushes nearby. Near Yu Jinok's place, he revealed a dying assassin. In order to eliminate the disaster, he pulled out his weapon and slowly walked towards the source of the noise. That weak body was dragging on the ground and created a trail of blood. Looks very miserable. No matter who the opponent is, this person still crawls away even though he knows it's too late. In the end, he has to die, but dying like this is such a waste. As soon as I see in the eyes of Tantan's disciples, he wondered what he had done wrong to receive such a result. It was your fault that a humble assassin dared to surpass Tantan. Pyo Wol has gone a very long way, but he doesn't dare to rest at all. It's not clear where the escape route is. The male protagonist only knows how to run forward. Panting sounds rang out for him. I saw that his physical strength had decreased a lot. If he didn't run, he would only die, but questions kept appearing in his mind and he didn't know who would answer them. How did they know where he was? Hiding. I have never encountered anyone on the way to this deserted mountain. According to what he speculates, someone inside must have smuggled this information out. Inside, the only group I know is who the assassin was. In the end, who leaked the information? Thinking back, I don't see the silhouette of the swordsman and his subordinates anywhere clearly before being attacked. Surprisingly, they left first. Thinking up to this point, one thing is certain. Those people were forced to hide because they did not want to reveal the identity of the Blood Federation. Dozens of shots the arrow shot towards where the male protagonist was standing and he actively jumped everywhere to avoid it. However, even if he avoided it forever, he couldn't because there were so many of them. Getting hit was not a problem. Nothing terrible. Receiving an arrow stuck right in his shoulder, his body fell to the ground. Even though it's painful, it's still impossible to ignore the curiosity about the person who leaked this information. What will the reason be? Is it a matter of the blood spirit group or has the person who commissioned it changed his mind? For now, I'm sure that the blood spirit group has abandoned me, so I have to escape first. This thinking is correct because regardless of whether the mission is successful or not, they will eliminate them. Only these assassins. Therefore, the best way is to flee from this dangerous mountain area. The male protagonist kept running until he reached a cliff below where a river flowed. Very fast. On the way he also unconsciously left traces from the fact that he was injured by that arrow. A moment later, a disciple who had shot that arrow came to the place to identify him. Received the body. The boy kept looking around when suddenly two small knives were firmly stuck in his throat, causing blood to splatter all over the screen. After killing this person, the male protagonist silently said to himself, "My heart has no other choice but to be self-reliant." While thinking about this, the screams of searching and searching came right into my ears. Now it's a dead end, so whether I die or live it doesn't matter anymore. According to his instinct, Pyo Wol took the initiative to jump into the river below. It was so bad that before he could do anything, he had to run away to survive. Dead. Just like that, no one was searching in this area anymore and Tantan's group had moved to another place. After struggling with that dangerous current, he also found a temporary safe place. This place is in the north, not too far from Tantan Mountain. Luckily, Pyo Wol is still alive and the wound he had at that time was not affected at all. Just like that, he continued to go deep into the forest to find a safe place to hide. This place was relatively peaceful and quiet, as if no one had come to find it. After going inside for a while, I discovered there were a lot of blood stains right under the tree. According to what the male protagonist examined, the blood stains were not accidental but intentional. There was a recorded code asking to go 400 miles. To the northeast, it's not clear who this person is, but just looking like that is enough to understand that the wound is obviously very serious. While considering whether to follow this or not, the disciples of Tan Tan has chased here. This group of people also knows every place because it is also the area of the sect, so they are quite familiar with the roads and paths. Pyo Wol's job right now is very basic, which is to hide. And ran away. I really couldn't believe that they would set up a net just to catch an assassin. If you look at the clothes of the fighters, there are at least 7 sects. Has participated in this matter. If that's the case, then it's not the problem of the blood spirit group alone. While thinking about this, a very strong slashing force was directed towards his back. Fortunately, with his sharp senses, the male lead was able to dodge. As soon as he leaned back, his eyes became more surprised. It turned out that the person who did this was Lee Sol. Min is Pyo Wol's unofficial girlfriend. They both recognized each other and also made a very surprised face without saying a word. Seeing Pyo Wol, Lee Sol Min sighed in relief. And immediately put down the weapon in his hand. Also from that statement, this child had lost too much blood, so he unconsciously collapsed. It was also very possible that this was the last meeting of our you two? Pyo Wol looked at the wound and understood that this person was seriously injured. If he kept it like that, he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Temporarily ignoring the wound, he immediately asked where the remaining people were now. Most of them were dead and there were only a few people left, but they were hiding very well. Before, it seemed like Song Qianwu and Yo Wol were resisting Tan Tan's attacks very hard. As soon as she saw that Sol Min loved her more, she also asked for no need to stay. But let's go first. They stayed and fought to the end even though only one person survived. Of course everyone thought that this person would survive and return to report to the blood spirit group. Honestly, right now the male lead doesn't know how to handle that matter anymore. He gently placed his teammate's body on the ground and had countless confusing thoughts. Everything. If that's the case, then Sol Min's death is inevitable. She also knows that and doesn't seem to want to accept the truth. Are you afraid of this and why? Why don't you want to live anymore? This is a superfluous question because Sol Min really wanted to live and asked the male lead if he could save him. Knowing that it was very painful, he had to coldly answer that he couldn't do it. That's it. That's why I gave up. I understood very well the wound on my friend's leg. Even so, I'm lucky because when I die, I won't be alone like this. You will watch over me. Give me until the last moment, Sol Min gently said. Pyo Wol looked at Sol Min's face with so many emotions and he agreed, every last minute of this child's life will probably be printed very deeply into the male protagonist's subconscious. In the end, everything turned out like this. Everyone up until now has always tried their best just to live. In the end, who treats with us and do something like this? Our destiny depends on people whose faces we have never seen and who are trampled on without being able to resist. I always hope that they will feel the same way as they do now. Before Sol Min was about to leave, he really felt it was unfair because he would have to die like this. It took a long moment of silence for the male lead to say the full name of the person the blood spirit group needed. Assassination. Hearing the name Wu Gun Sang, Sol Min appeared puzzled. The person we need to kill is because of the person everyone calls Wu Gun Sang of the Tan Tan sect. Already has a person who entrusted the blood spirit group to kill Wu Gun Sang of the Tan Tan faction. The male protagonist told all the reasons originating from this person and why the children were sent to that secret location. To train. It can be said that that person was the source of the hardships and deaths of 300 homeless children. We were kidnapped and raised because of that. Cultivated as an assassin for 7 years. They try to erase unnecessary things from us and they are drawing up the necessary things in the plan. As long as we are still alive, we will quickly find the person who made our lives. I became a farce like this. The male lead promised his friend that he would definitely take revenge. Sol Min's hands tried to caress Pyo Wol's cheeks in agony. I also thought like you, if it were you, I would want you to survive. There are so many words you both can't say to each other and will never be able to say them again. Previous when he was close to death, Sol Min only wanted the male lead to call his real name one time. Unconsciously, the corner of his mouth called out the 3 words Lee Sol Min. Everything seemed to fade away. In the male lead's eyes, only the words, "thank you," could be heard. There were so many things Sol Min wanted to say but now it's too late. Just like that, this child is gone and is no longer Pyo Wol's companion on the next journeys. The male lead doesn't need to know who caused this, but he promises Seol Min that he will definitely wipe it all out. It's so sad that just for personal gain, he changed Seol Min's mentality and attitude. A child. Right now at the headquarters of the Blood Spirit Group. It turns out that the group leader received a mandate letter from Na Mai and requested that he no longer want to do this mission. I feel really regretful because I put so much effort into raising it until now. I thought this was a discarded card, but I didn't think I would have to throw it away when it hasn't been used like that. This is it. Let's ignore this for now. The Four Swords are the ones who spread the rumors and reported the location of the male leads group, so he is very worried. Even this place itself will be in danger. Jiu Yang understands that if the information is leaked, it may be related to the entruster. I don't know why, but they have chosen to destroy everything. If you want to keep it a secret, wouldn't it be much safer for them to completely eliminate all of us? What you say makes a lot of sense, but they won't find this place. We just have to wait here for the rain of blood to pass. Actually, the identity of the entruster has not been found out by the union owner, and he does not want to do so because he wants to keep his trust. At least they sent us a warning letter like that, so we don't have to overstep our limits. While waving the authorization letter in his hand, the Four Swords suddenly realized something was wrong. Unusual. In a moment, he suddenly shouted loudly that it was scent tracking. Someone had poisoned this letter. To be more specific, scent tracking is a very strong smell, specifically designed to help track a specific object. Right now, the Blood Spirit Group's ditch has been scattered by the body of a servant. As the old tiger grew older, plaintive screams were heard outside. There were many strange people in costumes of the Na Mi sect rushed inside. They didn't say any reason, just swung their swords and killed everyone who showed signs of life. In front, fortunately, there was the appearance of a sword. So I warn everyone to leave quickly. Not only the Na Mi sect, but also many other political sects present here. All of these people think that being a guest is something very important. It's so terrible that we need to open the precepts. It's true that there are traps in traps, and these veteran assassins are all falling into the trap. Their elimination of those newly trained assassins is also an ending. It's very satisfying to be like this. The group leader gave a strange smile and thought that the Four Swords' words were coming true. However, ignoring those words, the subordinates asked him to stop. Quickly leave here before things get worse. Don't you know why the person they're targeting is me? They came here because of me. Do you think they will let me escape safely? In general, once the base location has been discovered, either you die or you live. This time, the group leader is forced to take action to save the situation for his blood spirit group. As soon as the sword was unsheathed, an extremely dangerous aura appeared on his body. With his incredible speed, Jiu Yang rushed towards the people of the political faction. Also, no, I can't believe that with his many years of experience, he could carelessly reveal his position. The monks who were busy kicking and punching nearby didn't have time to do anything and only had time to look up. Looked in the direction of the group leader. They only had time to do that when suddenly the scene was suspended in the air. Dozens of bald heads were cut off before Jiu Yang's sword. It is true that he is the leader of the assassin force, so his swordsmanship is also very classy. If you dare to bite us, you will not have a better ending than this. Currently we're busy fighting on one side, taking the time to shout out to our brothers. Everyone, please try a little harder. If we stick together, we can win. That's how it is said, but it seems like the number of there are too many martial artists. In response to this statement, a person from the political faction has stepped forward. I think you will no longer have that chance. That person's magical hands have moved, ready to use all his strength and attack strongly towards the leader of the group. Never before has this person seen such a terrible aura. This is a killer move that very few people of the righteous sect unleash. If he was that strong, he needed to ensure his life, so Jiu Yang swung his sword hard to counterattack. Boom, two streams of energy colliding like that, about to knock out all the electricity. Ancient Blood Federation. From within that smoke and dust, the Union leader could no longer maintain the same attitude as before. He was very strong, but the opponent was not inferior, and then his mouth appeared. Bright red blood stains appeared. The strength of someone from the righteous sect was too formidable, so the group leader wanted to inquire about whose reputation. It turned out that the person who had just beaten him at that time was Jianghu of Na Mi faction. How can a low-class assassin like you dare to call my name so casually? Until now Jiu Juyang still doesn't know that the person behind this is MMI. The voice of he trembled because he realized that the other person was single-minded and betrayed Jianghua. Just as he was about to reveal the person who commissioned the assassination, the woman screamed and silenced her as if she didn't want to reveal the truth. If you say one more word, I will cut that tongue out. The more he said this, the more certain Jiu Juyang's mind became that the entruster was Na Mi. Cho, whether it's accurate or not, it's already too late. I should have thought sooner that this could be related to them. I regret keeping the limit and did not go to investigate the identity of the entruster. It is true that because of a wrong judgment of the group leader, it caused the death of all members of the Blood Spirit group. Knowing that it was too late. So today, the union leader will definitely pay the price with his life. However, he didn't want to die alone, he just wanted to bring many others along. With a higher level of martial arts, Jianghua was very dirty and didn't pay attention to those words. Immediately, she flashed strongly and the space created a lot of force to shoot towards Jiu Juyang. No longer caring about her life, so the opponent attacked and approached. No matter how many injuries they get, the main team is determined to drag this bad boy along. One side is not to bring danger, the other side is to preserve confidential information. Everyone has their own purpose. The whisk in Jianghua's hand is quite stubborn as he continues to respond to Jiu Juyang's bloody sword moves. He's just the leader of the assassins, but he's so powerful, it's so talented. Fortunately, fighting him head-on in broad daylight, if we were attacked at night, I'm not sure if I would be able to win. This guy and the assassins from earlier wouldn't be easy to ignore. I don't necessarily need to destroy them. Thinking like that, Jianghua screamed and grabbed a whisk to create a huge tornado. The mission that Go Wa Satya assigned was to massacre all the people of the Blood Spirit group. If the world knew that Na Mi was shameless and despicable, no one would dare to have anything to do with this sect anymore. Her aura was so strong Jiu Juyang was unconsciously pushed back and dropped his weapon. In front of him, it was as if there was a storm trying to suck him inside. Could this be the end of the Blood Spirit group or what? The group leader was confused and could only think of this. I had always been hiding in the dark, killing countless people and building the Blood Spirit group like today. I also thought that it would not be long before I caught them. The White Knuckle group trains people that even the masters in the gang are afraid of. Even though they haven't done this small thing yet, they're already thinking about big things. It's really unrealistic, that's why they're like this. Hold on tight. Jiu Juyang gritted his teeth again because he was so regretful about subjectively trusting his business partner. He shouted, repeated his name and position and swore that he would protect the Blood Spirit group for him. Until his soul left his body. It was as if this person single-handedly rushed into Jianghua's terrifying power. Life is something that is so cheap compared to someone whose job is to be an assassin. The only thing that matters to them is whether they can do the job or not, live or die. It's like drinking a cup of tea and sipping wine. While shouting hoarsely, a breath of air shot out and cut off one of Jiu Juyang's legs. So black and so hairy, she was so lonely that she was secretly attacked. Right when she looked back, a martial artist took the opportunity to make a few moves when the group leader lost focus. If that's the case, then when she turned back to her opponent, it wasn't clear how long Jianghua had been in front of her. She gathered her strength and minimized the tornado and shot it hard at Jiu Juyang's body. If he got caught by this technique, he couldn't. I can control my body and let my body fly wherever I want. In fact, I lost one leg so my balance and strength are not as great anymore. Jianghua is really so strong that even the union leader can also defeat. It's still an ending as expected, and it's frustrating because Jiu Juyang hasn't had time to fulfill his long-cherished dreams. Also from this incident we can understand that Na Mi is not the type to plan to dethrone others. Seeing that the main group lost their subordinates' fighting power, they could no longer improve. They were quickly attacked by Shaolin monks, pressing and hitting the stick repeatedly until he died. Only a little strength left. Jiu Juyang coughed blood continuously and tried to stand up. As long as he was still breathing, he would still cope no matter who the opponent is and how strong it is. From behind Jianghua, the head of the Na-Mi sect was present. Seeing her master, she began to bow and salute. Ask. Tapping the staff in her hand, Go-Wa Satya swept through a so-called assassin's headquarters. She blamed them for being just a bunch of nonsense, so why did it take so long? Jianghu bent down to explain because this group of people resisted so much that it was a bit difficult. Jiu Yang saw the sect leader standing in front of him and tried to say a few more words. He couldn't have expected it. It's too horrible for a famous political sect to hire assassins to kill others. Just like that, the voice rang out louder calling Go-Wa Satya's name. She didn't pay attention at all. It's like ignoring and pretending to be innocent. Why do you guys do that? Na-Mi doesn't have any grudge against the blood spirit group and we have a lot of trust in you guys. Why? In response to this question, the sect leader's figure disappeared. Jiu Yang was miserable and angry, cursing at the Na-Mi sect for not living like animals. He tried to speak loudly so that other martial artists would know. What's going on? Of course, Go-Wa Satya really doesn't want everything to break out. She flew in and tapped her staff hard, exploding the head of the blood spirit group's leader. I don't understand what nonsense this guy is talking about. My disciples, please finish them off for me. The situation at Nyat Kiem's place was not much better as he was pierced straight by Sol Ran's sword. Through his chest. It hasn't even been a day since he retired, but he died right at work. Lim Sayul himself understood that everything was caused by the Na-Mi sect. Since Go-Wa Satya became the head of the sect, this sect has expanded its influence and strengthened its strength. Before he died, he only thought of that and turned his eyes to the place of his eldest disciple. Attached, that's why Nyat Kiem also really wants to know this person's full name so he can close his eyes and calm down. Sol Ran didn't say a word but honestly introduced things in a cold way. Among the disciples of Go-Wa, I heard that there is an outstandingly talented female disciple, so it turns out it's yours. Sol Ran thought it was just a rumor. If you look at it for a long time, you'll get bored quickly. Lim Sayul laughed. In the pain of being an assassin for 10 years but not being able to defeat a disciple of Na-Mi, it was really miserable. After saying this, his body collapsed into a pool of blood. So the second strongest member of the blood spirit group had to die to be friends with the group master under the golden stream. Although he easily killed the assassins, Sol Ran's expression was not very happy. Withdrawing that expression, she slowly walked towards the place of her sister and master. Jianghua saw her sister and frowned because she was too slow. Kill her quickly so she can go do other things. It's called a massacre. But Na-Mi also kept a few names to interrogate for more information. Keep this name, he is the one who leads the newly trained assassins and is also the one who went near Tan Tan Mountain. The person who had just finished speaking was none other than Tu Kiem. Go Hwa's grandmother began to speak in a condescending voice, asking how many people in total went to the Tan Tan sect. During interrogation, he appeared very stubborn and did not want to tell the truth. Asking nothing made Na-Mi's sect leader even angrier. Even if I knew, I would never say that those who made me become like this. Do you think I will repay them? Good words. Hearing those words, Go-Wa started to show a more scary face. It turned out to be just an assassin trying to appear strong, right? Having said that, it was already in hand, radiating aura and squeezing tightly on Tu Kiem's seal. Just like that, that flow of energy flooded into his body, making him scream because of the pain. The sect leader's voice continued to echo. Up again and again, there were a total of how many people came to Tan Tan Mountain. But they were also called assassins because as soon as they slapped a few of the 4 swords, they confessed that there were a total of 28 people. Speaking after that, his fate was no different from the brothers who died before. So she successfully killed all the people of the blood spirit group to hide the truth. After when this was done, Jianghua also reported that up to now, a total of 24 assassins had been eliminated. There were still 4 assassins left, so why not leave behind any seeds of disaster? Actually, it's not true that there are 4 because Li Sol Min is no longer alive, so there are only Pyo Wol Yo Wol and Go Young San left. Before returning to the sect, Go-Wa reminded the prince, I love you very carefully. Sol Ran has played a very important role up to now. After handling this matter, I will send you to Tan Tan to set a wedding date. even if I don't want to. This beauty is also forced to agree because the master's words are everything. According to her words, what I do is only for the honor and benefit of the sect. To elaborate a bit, I can temporarily guess that those things are only Go Wa's personal interests. Of course, this scheming person will never let someone destroy him. The plan was too perfect. Right now in an unknown forest in the mountains of Tan Tan. Pyo Wol, after taking care of the aftermath and everything, he also approached this famous sect. It is called Tan Tan because there are dozens of mountain ranges close together creating a wall, and from there this sect takes its name. Afterwards inside the sect there are quite a few disciples guarded carefully. They have strengthened their defenses after receiving news of an assassin lurking around here. Pyo Wol knows that and he is determined to penetrate inside to investigate. Situation. Perhaps the male protagonist still doesn't know that the blood spirit group is no longer there and he is trying to complete this mission. If you complete that task, freedom will definitely come and no one will chase you. If you want to die by the strategy of the gangsters, then I will definitely fulfill it for you. Just like that, time passed smoothly and the matter of hunting assassins was no longer of much concern. It's a normal day, the disciples of the Tan Tan sect still go outside to pick herbs. Are you also going to get herbs today because you went yesterday too? I don't know what happened but he said to prepare as much as possible first. Although there is no problem, the atmosphere is very chaotic so you have to be careful. Because this disciple gave that no matter what, no one would dare to touch his Tan Tan sect. Just like that, he slowly entered the forest to find rare herbs to bring back to prepare pills. From the top of the tall trees, the sound of birds singing rang out right at that person's position. This is a rather strange image and if anyone is paying attention, there must be something unusual. Even though he is a disciple of the Tan Tan sect, this person does not pay much attention because his main job is still to prepare medicinal pills. The journey to pick herbs will start from the nearest Taoist temple until the Taoist temple. In the end, while calculating everything what he would do after returning, a familiar dark shadow appeared from right behind. The male lead still had not left this mountain area, but he tried to get closer to Tan Tan. To find out information about the target that needs to be assassinated. As soon as he saw that rather special knife, the boy's eyes widened in fear. He began to whine and ask about the opponent's background. Who is? Actually, this is also a pretty useless question when the male lead slashed his thigh. Because it was so painful, the boy screamed unconsciously. In my head kept thinking about who this person is and why did he dare to cause chaos in Tan Tan Mountain. For now, Pyo Wol still hasn't said anything because he wants the other person to be calm first. Are you here? Are you a disciple of the Tan Tan sect? If yes, then nod once. Saying this made the boy's eyes well up and he nodded repeatedly. I will release you so please answer the question honestly. Don't think nonsense, no matter what you want to do, it will be faster for me to take your life. I felt quite reassured so I stopped making things difficult and let this person go. Let me ask you a quick question. Then he was definitely a third-generation disciple of the Tan Tan sect. It didn't have anything to do with it so he immediately asked who was named Wu Gunsang. Hearing that name, Dojin spoke louder. Because the opponent's reputation is quite high in Tan Tan. It's still not very relevant, so the male lead asked to explain in detail so that I can understand better. Master Wu Gunsang is the most talented genius that sent me. Tan Tan trained him, from an early age he learned most of Tan Tan's energy and entered the upper realm. It is said that the previous masters of the Tan Tan sect were also very interested and came to teach. For that person, the wise men of that sect, it's true that bad things aren't obvious, right? It had to be to that extent that they spent 7 years for us. Dojin has said everything he knows and is really hoping the male lead will follow through on his promise. I'm not sure if he will forgive me, but he conveniently pointed at the acupuncture points making his body unable to move. Starting the job of an assassin was more carefully prepared. Pyo Wol disguised Dojin's face so that it was 99% similar. Everything kept rustling right behind him, making him the child became panicked, not knowing what this mysterious person was doing. As soon as he tried to lean back to see, a horrifying scene appeared before his eyes. Dojin's words expanded, more because he can't believe this. Pyo Wol's disguise looks exactly like a mole. He also needs to look more closely to see if there's any need to make it more similar. Any more or not. If you look closely, you can see that there is another place, but at first glance, no one will be able to tell the difference. It turns out that we had to do this so that Pyo Wol can blend into the bar. If he kept on acting like an assassin, he would have died before he even passed the main gate. Dojin appeared more scared and didn't know if this boy's life would be preserved according to what that Pyo Wol promised or not. I don't know what he did, but a few hours later he groped his way to the carefully guarded street in place of the Tan Tan sect. The disciple outside seemed quite surprised that Dojin had gone to work and returned so early. The male lead is very smart and explains that he hasn't finished his work yet because he just forgot a few items. This guy really has his head in the clouds, please wake up quickly. So were both disciples on guard, no one discovered this person's abnormality. He had successfully entered a place where it was almost impossible for assassins to penetrate. There were quite a few civilians going back and forth in the vicinity, and many disciples are checking very closely. Fortunately, suddenly there is that random guy with food coming to his mouth, so how can Pyo Wol not take advantage of it? It's like so he took a deep breath and slowly walked in and tried to act like he was a real person here. There were too many people passing by and no one paid any attention to a drug picker. Everyone did it. Some people exchange goods, others find things to talk about. With the mindset of an assassin, no one can see his movements. Pyo Wol holds his breath and uses the trick of instant return great method to sneak everywhere. He looks like an invisible ghost. The most important thing is to quickly find the target's whereabouts and deal with it. It takes a while asking each person one by one. Pyo Wol can get the exact location. In this rather large campus, the Tantan district has a very roundabout infrastructure layout. Pyo Wol can only walk a short distance, stopping right at the target's residence. He tried to carefully observe and check everything from the outside to find a way to break in. Before doing that, he also had to show a look. Very familiar. Paying closer attention, Wu Gun Sang's place is quite similar to the place where Pyo Wol used to live. It's so similar that the house's construction style goes down to the door handle and it can't go anywhere. However, the scale seems a bit broader because at least it is a mature sect. And it is also the residence of talented martial artists, so surely this sect will prioritize many things. Ignoring that for now, the scene moves to a nearby place, which is the study room where some of the city's most prominent figures hold meetings. Inside and outside, there are disciples guarding the area very carefully. When a fly passes through, you can tell if it's male or female. Today was a pretty important meeting, so everyone's face looked quite serious. At first, Chief Jin Il-Muryang spoke up and asked if what is the current situation. An elder quickly responded to that question by saying that the search for the assassin had ended. Do the assassins dare to come to this sect to cause chaos? Do you think this has any meaning? Of course not, I think this could be someone's plot. After speaking, Wu Jin Pyong's face also showed an expression as if what he said was true. There was still a lack of accurate information to be able to draw a conclusion, so I sent the disciples away. After gathering information, Ching Cheng believes that no matter who it is, his life will absolutely not be spared. Now this sect is on a very important path and must find the truth to discuss it. This won't have to happen again. Everything has been assigned to Wu Jin Pyong, so he is determined to do it and find out who is behind it all. To looking more closely, the Great War of Demons happened in the past. Those who participated in the war all clearly remember the dangerous moment when Jianghu was conquered by new magic. A martial artist rarely seen in the world was established the Providence Alliance to participate in this matter. At that time, all the famous political factions of the world were present. All following the principle of protecting the weak, destroying the weak. Evil. All sects such as Shaolin, Wudang, Manhwa sect have built great achievements and regained their old reputation. In contrast to that, Tan Tan and Na Mi, but it is impossible to do it. Both of these sects only receive the false name of the First World Four Heavens. To be more precise, the power of Na Mi or Tan Tan cannot be compared with the famous sects today. If we want to catch up with them, we cannot waste time on this. If we proceed according to plan, within 10 years we will definitely catch up with those sects. Tauntaun's first-generation disciple seems very interested because this deadline is too fast and he trusts his younger brother. In short, not only Tauntaun but also I want to have a place and voice in the world. You are truly wonderful and truly worthy. Let the disciples below follow. Speaking of which, the disciples have already asked how Wu Gunsang is doing. It seems like he still doesn't know what the situation is like outside. Speaking of this, elder Wu Jinpyong became even sadder because he thought about his son. As far as he knew, this person was cultivating in seclusion with the thought of redeeming himself. The sins that he has committed. There is a high possibility that this will be a very difficult opponent if he competes one-on-one with Pyo Wol. In this optimal space, Wu Gunsang is still trying to repent for what he did. Although he is known as Tauntaun's true disciple, this person's morals are not very good. Back to the meeting between elders and sect leaders. Hearing everyone mention his son's story, Wu Jinpyong bowed down and apologized because he couldn't teach him properly. After all, he is also a man at that age and it is normal for him to be full of energy. The other sect leaders have also followed suit. No need to apologize for that, after all he did. If it's handled smoothly, try to teach it again later. In everyone's eyes, Wu Gunsang is always the center of attention. Compared to morality, love is probably weak. But in terms of martial talent, he is not inferior to anyone. To talk more deeply, this person's ability is even on par with the elders sitting across from the other sect leader. In general, Wu Gunsang's natural talent is something that the Tauntaun sect is trying very hard to protect. If it is trained well, it will certainly be no worse than the later martial arts of other sects. After saying this, everyone nodded because they thought that Tauntaun's future would depend on that person. It turned out that Na-Mi wanted to hire an assassin to eliminate the consequences right from the start. Ignore it for now. After those compliments, the sect leader talked about something else. This matter was also related to the Na-Mi sect and he wanted to ask whether Wu Gunsang's father had accepted their marriage proposal. Them or not. According to Wu Jinpyong, his noble son agreed. Marrying someone from the Na-Mi sect is not bad, especially the other person is also the youngest disciple of Go Wasatya. There are rumors that that girl is very smart, so it would be great if she had a relationship with such a person. But no matter what, I don't feel very comfortable. Actually, the discomfort here is because the head of the Na-Mi sect, Go Wasatya, is now trying very hard to catch up with the Tauntaun sect. Being resilient in marriage with her little disciple, it might make us lose in this deal. Since then, Wu Jinpyong is very hesitant whether to agree or refuse the marriage. There's no other way, we can't live forever in this narrow land of Sichuan. The boy is Tauntaun's only hope, so let's pay close attention to this matter. In general, we put more emphasis on trust. Perhaps the disappointment that will be overwhelming. Even Na-Mi and He-Tan do not want to sacrifice the most important people for the common goal of their sect. As for the male lead, he was now standing right in front of the main gate where Wu Gunsang was regretting. This was his first time coming to Moon Palace, so he felt like this place was really spacious. The main door is closed, but if you want to get in, it's not too difficult. As an assassin, breaking into somewhere is relatively simple. However, in the current situation the male protagonist needs to be more careful if he wants to ensure his own safety. He was jumping up on the roof when he also heard the voices of the disciples whispering. They were talking about the fact that Wu Gunsang, during his penance, brought a girl inside to live with him. It's possible that this is also related to the fact that this talented disciple was punished to live alone. So therefore, in order to collect information more thoroughly before making a move, the male lead also needs to monitor. One person said that using the excuse of going into seclusion to bring women to live with you is really miserable. Just so he looked dissatisfied because he thought this time he would drag some lay disciple and make another mess. Why does that guy bring a woman inside? Why does he seem so innocent? It's not strange for him to do this. Feeling that talking was too boring, so the other disciple went to another place despite his friend repeatedly trying to stop him for fear that someone would hear this story. He's right to be scared because Pyo Wol knows everything. Let's ignore that boy-girl thing for now. I'm calculating how to get out once I'm in. In general, if you want to do this confidential thing, you need to wait until the sun goes down. The male lead waited until it was late and no one was going back and forth at the Moon Palace anymore. He gave up class, disguised himself to put on an assassin's outfit to blend in with the night. After checking once before, the path was clear. So in just a moment but Pyo Wol was already inside. The space was even more airy and there were no decorative items at all. Contrary to the time of day, at night there was no one coming in or out to watch. Guard carefully. According to a more specific description, inside is just an open space with no floors. That is very suitable for practicing swordplay or doing something evil such as. Pyo Wol tried to look closely because he wanted to have a very private hiding place. After walking a little further, he could see countless weapons scattered all over the floor. There were also weapons scattered all over the floor above. There's a ventilation gate and the male lead will probably climb up there and sit. And from the center, the couple is hugging each other and sleeping after a period of tiring activities. Classy and talented disciple. Most members of the Tan sect see this and bring a girl home to sleep with them, which is truly unworthy of a Taoist disciple. Just like that, Pyo Wol's figure escaped and appeared in the night. Brother, I'm still holding my breath waiting for the opportunity and will act soon. Before I act, I need to check because there is no painting depicting my target. If we follow what the people say, the disciples talked about it. He was sure that the handsome long-haired guy below was Wu Gun Sang. It seemed like the other person didn't know the presence of a stranger in this room. Because he was discovered last time, so the male lead is being quite cautious. He tries to estimate that this person's strength will probably be higher than his group master. He's really strong but even everything is just human. If you get stabbed or lose a lot of blood, you will die. Having said that, Pyo Wol threaded the knotted rope and dropped it below. The space became quieter and I can only hear the male lead's swallowing sound and the beating of his heart. To do this, you need to be very gentle and skillful. If there is any movement, you will only die. The drops of sweat from above were falling down, making everything even more tense. Just like that, the rope gently slid into Wu Gun Sang's neck. As soon as it touched the skin, his eyes suddenly became bright and it was as if he knew that the male lead had done this. He was so dark that he was discovered and could no longer hide. Even though he was an assassin, Pyo Wol he didn't have any experience so he quickly pulled back the rope. Then he pulled the body of the target to be assassinated upward. Wu Gun Sang screamed because he had difficulty breathing and he continuously stirred. Pyo Wol used his weight to jump down, tightening the rope so that he could no longer breathe. But no matter what he said, he was talking about killing people using this method and it was also a crime. A person with a talent for martial arts is so wrong. After a while of regaining composure, the little white sword cut the rope and panted like a dead man. He calmly landed right next to him. His woman. Both of them did not do anything but tried to spy on each other. Wu Gun Sang was the one who proactively spoke up first and asked why the other did what he did. The answer he received was still terrifying silence. Pyo Wol pulled out his weapon and surely one of them tonight will no longer live in this world. If the reward price after killing this guy is that high, then surely he is a person with extremely strong martial arts. No matter how fast the male lead rushes in, that person's state of mind is still quite calm. He doesn't want to attack yet because he really wants to know who the real reputation of the man in black is. The killer move was slashed at each weak spot on the body, but Wu Gun Sang only used his bare hands to remove it. That also shows that how much internal power does he have. This is the first time Pyo Wol has seen the other person being able to use his body to directly confront his sharp weapon. To that surprise, his body Wu Gun Sang's image appeared right in front of his eyes again. He just had to swipe his hand hard and the male lead's small body was shot backwards. Next, this guy tried again. Rushed forward to get closer once more. A strange animation appeared right in front of the male protagonist's eyes, leaving him rooted to the spot. The internal energy flow on his body had condensed and formed a huge sword. Wu Gun Sang is aiming his palm straight down as if he wants to cut the male lead's body in half. With only two small weapons in his hands, he has to buckle to support the weight of that internal force. Really, this task is too overwhelming because no one would give it to a teenager without any experience. The other person's face was still looking at him. like before, and it seems like he doesn't care at all. In general, people who are talented in martial arts are like that because they don't need to learn to be good from the moment they are born. Everything Pyo Wol has learned in the past 7 years cannot be applied at all in this situation. Just defending is enough to make him lose his strength, but the opponent can only use "I'm not tired at all" with my bare hands. Being on the defensive like this is not a good way to escape from this situation. While thinking about this, the male protagonist proactively dropped his knife, as if he had another combat plan. According to the elastic force, the hilt of the knife fell and jumped up and headed straight into Wu Gun-sang's path. Just a little more and he was successful in defeating Wu Gun-sang. Managed to kill this guy. He was quite satisfied when he blocked the knife in his hand because this assassin also had some talent. But all the things you did were just trivial things. Okay, who sent you here? Even if asked, Pyo Wol probably wouldn't want to say it because it would take time to tell things. Without the male lead having to answer, Wu Gun-sang would do it himself. I'll guess if it's true or not. Could it be that girl's father sent you here? After saying that, his eyes became strange and distorted. Pyo Wol also couldn't understand which other girl wanted to escape from here and kept asking nonsense. Let's move on for now. A look at Pyo Wol's opponents. From a young age until now, it's easier for Wu Gun-sang to talk about learning martial arts than flirting with girls. Because of his natural talent, everyone all praised him wholeheartedly. It was also from that incident that this person no longer found any joy in learning martial arts. Everything changed since he reached adolescence and met having a woman in your heart. It's quite normal for men and women to like each other, and it's not strange at all. From then on, Wu Gun-sang began to give up his goal of learning martial arts. He completely switched to black turf because this was too much fun. Already with a delicate face and a reputation as a genius in the city, Wu Gun-sang was immersed in purple. On a cool, windy moonlit night after working a few times, he tiredly returned home. He accidentally met a very special girl and later changed his feelings. Her beauty made Wu Gun-sang's heart skip a beat. That cute face, or to be more precise, what he was about to do was actually a mistake. Because of his inherent teasing nature, having a crush was not strange at all. However, after the trial, everything Wu Gun-sang said or blamed was just because he was drunk. That's unacceptable, and it's even more unacceptable when he's a famous talent in Vietnam. Ton. I admit that mistake, but was that girl's suicide my mistake? Why do I have to practice in seclusion for a year just because of these trivial matters? It turned out that Wu Gun-sang was thinking that the male lead who came to assassinate was hired by the unfortunate woman's family. During the period of seclusion and penance, he felt very depressed because there's nothing to do. If you've seen it like that, there's no need to learn much more. The scene appears again when the two are preparing to confront each other. Wu Gun-sang flashed a dangerous smile. Did that girl's evil father send you here? Pyo Wol doesn't understand anything, so why should he directly say that he belongs to the blood spirit group so that this guy can understand? From the beginning, the power of the pure disciple has radiated in a terrible way. Pyo Wol is about to not be able to stand it anymore because it's too strong. The terrifying aura spills out little by little, all very sharp and full of death. It's like hundreds of thousands. The blade surrounds his body and can be controlled at will. Actually, Wu Gun-sang's power is too huge. Nan knew that the opponent was strong before coming here, but he didn't expect it to come here. Level like this. After making a few lines, Wu Gun-sang took the initiative to attack first. He didn't bother to use other weapons besides Pyo Wol's small knife. Saying it's small just goes by the picture. Consciousness, but the power inside is very terrible. The opponent uses weapons 100 times better than Pyo Wol. Both of them keep flying from one place to another while the sound of sizzling is accompanied by according to. The male lead was really overwhelmed and he weakly dodged the attack without being able to find where the opponent's loophole was. One thing that is quite reassuring is that with the position of an assassin, the speed is also good. Temporarily caught up, Pyo Wol glided again and leaned back to throw soda straight at Wu Gun-sang's face. He didn't show any pain, but on the contrary, he was even more annoyed because the other person kept jumping back and forth like that. Loi Choi. While in the lower position, The male protagonist continued to pull out more hidden weapons to attack secretly. He slipped behind his shirt and threw hard the 2 small knives that he had been carrying. Quickly. It's fast but it doesn't work at all. Wu Gun Sang simply threw those weapons to another place. He raised his hand high and firmly grasped the weapon and said goodbye to Pyo Wol, go quickly and die go. How is it possible to live like that for 7 years before being able to go out? The male protagonist did not allow anyone to take his life. He jumped to another corner and ran at full speed to where the knives were scattered on the ground. The floor. Wu Gun Sang looked annoyed. He felt it was taking a while so he wanted to do it faster. He jumped up high and swung the knife again. As for Pyo Wol, one just a little more distance and I could have grasped the knife. Fortunately, it was time, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to cope even if I had a knife. Conveniently, he threw it once again. The air came back to prevent the opponent from getting close to him. While hovering high above, Wu Gun Sang used that small knife to block it very delicately. Below Pyo Wol's feet were countless swords. And he also temporarily borrowed 2 of them to fight. If the opponent is too strong, he needs to poke at it from a distance to be sure. The main character rummaged around his body, pulled out the hidden weapons he had and connected with them. Kept throwing it towards Wu Gun Sang. I kept throwing it and it ended and I didn't hit it because the opponent's reading speed was quite standard. All the swords that were flying nearby were pushed back to another place. The difference is becoming more and more evident. Wu Gun Sang's face doesn't look tired or exhausted at all. On the contrary, Pyo Wol is both tired and sore and has a headache from not being able to. I don't know what else to do. To be frank, I don't have a plan at all. I just fight and slash until I get hit or I'm exhausted. After taking a few breaths, I continued to pick up 6 the sharp sword then flew straight. Still the same old trick and the opponent now didn't even pay attention to it anymore. After getting tired of that pretty little knife, Wu Gun Sang grabbed another sword. Power radiated from the tip of the sword and he was planning to show off his true strength. The giant animations of the waves created like that were such immense power. The move he is performing is the secret technique of 72 sword techniques. Controlling that aura, Wu Gun Sang rotates the sword and then slashes straight where Pyo Wol stands. Good hands. His senses felt very good and countless rushing sounds rang out. From far away, the enemy shot straight in a trajectory that was difficult to predict where he would hit. The situation was too confused because he couldn't help it, but he couldn't help it anymore. Pyo Wol, in a panic, quickly thought of a plan and immediately flew to another place. Wu Gun Sang's eyes showed surprise because he didn't think he would do that. The male lead just jumped to another place and conveniently carried his girlfriend back to use as a defensive shield. Seeing the female incubator, Wu Gun Sang's knee was in danger like that. Wu Gun Sang was really angry. He changed his attack position, stepped back and then slashed a strong stream of sword energy. Those aura streams were quite miraculous because they passed through the woman. Took advantage and hit straight at the place where Pyo Wol stood. While he was busy struggling, he didn't know when the opponent was approaching very quickly. Those who are about to die are those who can't think much. Pyo Wol remembered Nyat Kiem's advice as if time was frozen. Lim Sayul reminded about the type of martial arts that every assassin must know and learn. Accompanied by Yowol's words, "You want to become a dead sheep instead." This is just a small story that 2 people exchanged while still in training. Time has sped up and is no longer in the past. Having only the will to live in his mind, Pyo Wol was able to block that extremely magical sword move. As soon as the 2 swords collided, Wu Gun Sang exclaimed, "How could something like this happen?" His eyes narrowed and he continuously stabbed and slashed wildly as if he was being severely attacked. No matter how much he hit, they couldn't hit him and both of them just stayed still and resisted each other even more. It must have been like, how can you block the esoteric sword techniques of our Qingcheng sect? In the male lead's head, he thinks that there is nothing, it's all about mastering the ways of life and death to survive. Even though my achievements may lag behind yours, I am still confident that I can destroy all the moves. Having come here, he has started to use his mind speed to counterattack. As from I said in the beginning that speed is a strong point and Pyo Wol is focusing on what he has to be the strongest. Each of Wu Gunsang's sharp sword moves stabbed into his body. This time it's a bit called hit but only hit a few illusions. The illusion shadow is now rotating in a circle and I don't know which is real or fake. Wu Gunsang saw the movement and recognized Pyo Wol behind him. In fact, he had a plan in advance so he deliberately did it like that. He turned around and swung his sword back with a strong force to slash it. However, this guy was wrong because the real person was in another place. Pyo Wol's shadow was hidden from below and penetrated straight into the middle of the opponent's chest. Unconsciously, Wu Gunsang coughed and began to vomit blood. Mastered it. The sword in the male lead's hand twisted deeply like that, causing the wound to widen and the blood to flow more. Finally, seeing that the target was dead, he let his heavy body rest. Fell to the ground with a thud. It's unbelievable that a third-rate assassin with no experience could kill the most talented martial arts disciple of the Tan Tan sect. If this spreads outside, what a bang. Or Hao Man or other types of aristocrats, there will be a lot of news to add or subtract for you to see. Pyo Wol was breathing heavily and really couldn't believe what he had done. Instinctively, he proactively looked about Wu Gunsang's lying body. He didn't move, didn't say a word of denial. That means the mission that the Blood Spirit group prepared for 7 long years has been successful.